Hello ladies and gentlemen, hello to the chicas and to the chicos. Back to how to get better at chess. Especially we need to get back to this series because I made a mistake. And last time I jumped an episode because after 1700 I went to 1900 to 2100, and so I forgot to cater for the rating range from 1700 to 1900, which is a very large group of people actually in the online chess circuit. So it is quite important that I have a look at how to get better at chess on that level. And whilst I'm at it right now, I would like to mention to you that I'm not offering here any kind of recipe for you that is going to fix your chess. And I'm not even, especially not trying to highlight exclusive mistakes that are identifying a certain rating range. It's impossible to do that because every single individual makes their individual mistakes. They have their unique flaws that basically mean that they are the people and chess players who they are. That's what makes them who they are, and so everyone needs a slightly altered version of these pieces of advice. So I'm not trying to give you any generic sort of toolbox that is going to help you out from whichever group you might be stuck on or wherever your plateau is, but I certainly am trying to find a couple of typical mistakes. Also note that when I'm making these videos, every single episode is different from the other in terms of how I'm approaching that rating range and what I'm recommending, and this episode is no different. This time around what I did was that I just hopped online, tried to find a player who falls into this rating range, which I have done. They shall rename anonymous because it's not quite fair that I'm ripping them apart here without their approval. And through their games, I'm just going to try to point out a couple of typical things that tend to happen, in my opinion, a fair bit. Now, there's some crazy rain coming down, like insane. Now, before I forget what I wanted to say, yeah, also interesting about this person is the fact that he or she actually plateaued on this rating level where they are now. So I looked at their improvement graph with their ratings, and from beginner they had a very steady rise to about 1800, and from there on it's a rock solid plateau. So it's actually quite interesting that I did manage to find someone who is not up and down or a steady climb or a steady decrease. It's a steady plateau. So without further ado, we are going to jump into the games, and I'm not going to start with the first one because actually that's a rather intensely mistake heavy game. So first game I looked at was actually this one. Our protagonist, shall we say, is the black player here, and he's playing a sort of Chebanenko Slav, and he seems to be knowing what he's meant to be doing, and right out of the opening he comes out quite decently. I really dislike this bishop takes c3 choice. I really dislike it. It's a classic case of releasing tension without any benefits, which is a big mania of mine. He had no reason whatsoever not to play here knight d7. Zilch. Like, why wouldn't you? Last piece that is not developed, let's go. I know that the engine really wants c5, and I'm actually all for that too, with the idea of knight c6. If that's what you want, I'm cool with that too. But bishop takes c3 was a no-go. Anyway, the game continues. He takes on c4, bishop takes b5. This part of the game is rather shaky. We are playing a lot of moves that are weakening, opening up the position for the two bishops. They could be argued against on a positional level, but this is not my main point about this game, so I will just let it go. Knight d7, rook g1. We play rook c8. It's quite an understandable move. The desire is to play c5. It's fine. Once again, I'm gonna roll with this. Rook g2. Now that is already looking a little bit pale, right? Like, what is your story there, dude? Anyway, we go c5. I'm totally cool with that. But now we need to be careful. And the reason for that is because now there is a tension here, which means that both bishop diagonals are going to rain down on us like mad. So we really need to be cautious. Okay, so for example, dc, knight takes, bishop takes h7 check, we must play king h8. And this needed to be seen because, of course, knight takes is going to lose to mate in 2. So that was already a bit of an iffy story there, but work with me here, because now we are going to come across an absolutely insane stuff. So the opponent castles to death. Now there are various ways to finish off the game. Takes d4 is perfect. And here, according to the engine, the safest way for a while was knight d5, but now it switches to b4, and we have 0 reasons to not to play here b4. The game is ready to be put away, and we are not playing b4. Now, I don't know why the opponent, why we didn't play here b4. My only possible explanation to that is that he was worried about rook here. Now, what needs to be said about rook there is that this is a move not to be underestimated, but it's not to be overestimated either. We have got g6, and now bishop takes g6 looks very scary. And when I say these words, is exactly how I picture this went down in the head of the black player, who goes like, okay, if I go b4 here, they are going to go rook here, I go g6, bishop takes g6, pawn takes, rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes, check, followed by queen g7 mate. Whoa, I can't do that. And, or, alternatively, because that may have been a bit too long of a variation, they went here, g6, bishop takes g6, whoa, that looks scary, can't do that. No, I'm not playing b4. And so, because of we are doing this, which is a very common mistake, so I always tell my students, and probably they are sick and tired of hearing it, this is that when you calculate, scary is not an assessment. There is no such thing in chess as scary. There is stuff as winning for white, or this is total garbage, and we need to take a pick. Of course, there are very complex positions where things look very, very messy, but when it's such exact calculation like this, you can't call it off. You need to calculate a line. You need to know when you call that off, and it's up to you, and that's a potential way to make mistakes, but that's the correct habit. Calculate the line, assess it. Assessment is white is winning, black is winning, white is better, black is better, equal. Unclear is already a bit of a messy one, but if you feel confident enough, that's cool. But even unclear is not scary. Now, what's fundamentally wrong here is, of course, is that this calculation is utterly flawed, because after takes, rook takes, I just tuck this king away here, and see you later, next game. Come again. White has got nothing here. Absolutely nothing. So we fail here to pull the trigger on an easy tactic simply because stuff looks scary and we are not winning the game. We play knight b6, which is really an utterly irrelevant move. Like, that's the other killer about this, is that it does nothing. Like, I don't even understand what he would have played here if he had had another go. Especially because the same motive seems to work for white no matter what. So if rook dg1 doesn't win against knight here, then it wouldn't have won against b4 either. So not only are we now failing in the calculation department, but also it doesn't make sense logically at all. Like, just on the level of pure logic, put aside any chess knowledge, it just doesn't work. So now we play g6, which gets taken, and now we go king f7, which again, like, hello, why do not we go here? Oh, this looks... What did you say it looks? Yeah, it doesn't look scary. It looks like a dangerous threat that we need to calculate. And so we do. d5, b4. Okay, rook takes, rook takes. Bishop takes, queen takes. This is guarded. See you later, alligator. We won. Okay, once again, b4. Bishop takes check, rook takes. Rook g8, queen g8. Takes, king takes. We won the queen. Unfortunately, you have to calculate this much. I do not think that this is a difficult piece of calculation for someone who is 1800. That if I play b4, they take, I take. And if rook g8, I take. And then I take back. And this stays here. And if it is, then now we know what to practice. Because here we are missing again a super basic win at the expense of absolutely exposing our king. And now the whole game is jeopardy. I practiced it yesterday on stream and I still can't say that word. Jeopardy. So the whole game is at risk of losing just because we decided to go on a random king walk where we really didn't need to. Now the position is still winning, but now it's dicey. Queen b3, knight d5. It's okay. King b1. Rook c7. Again, a little bit too passive. I would have liked to go take, and queen up here. Just to offer a queen trade. I quite like that sort of thing when we are a piece up. Rook c7. I actually don't remember how this game ends, so now I'm going to through it. Now, especially take, queen d5, right? He plays queen c8. I mean, name the most passive move on the board. And we have arrived. Okay, bishop d2, rook c4, that's fine. Queen d3, rook f7. Again, looks to me like a very purposeless move. So black, he just can't handle the fact that he somehow needs to win the game. And it's a tough ask, because although he's a piece up, the king is exposed, or rather weak is a better way to put it, and that there is no obvious target to go for. And even the engine here is being a little bit vague by being suggesting queen d7. Okay, I will roll with rook f7, a3, queen there, bishop there, queen up. I will accelerate this a bit. Oh, okay, that was probably a mouse slip. That was unfortunate, because here rook takes d4 would have mopped up. But there is a moral to this story, and that is that almost every single time there is a point in any chess game where one side is totally winning, where it doesn't matter how winning you are, you must put in the hard yards and you must calculate how you actually are going to convert. And here, not calculating b4 followed by rook g1 cost, in the long run at least, our friend the game. So, moving on to the next. Our friend here is commanding the black army. And again, his opening is top notch. Bishop g5 is a bit of a lemon there. He immediately recognizes that, plays d6. Plays bishop b7 is suboptimal. Castles would have been better, but that's okay. He hunts the bishop down. He conquers the center. He takes the bishop. Absolute legendary chess, right? Like, can't fault it at all. Bishop b7 was a minor inaccuracy. But as far as this whole opening play is concerned, if I had only seen this much, I would have gone like, yeah, 2100 would play like this for black. No worries. Even he reroutes the bishop, which is actually a mature decision, but it doesn't take into account the opponent's plan f4, which should have been played. Instead, the doozy knight e2 came, bishop e6, okay, knight d2 back, knight h7. Now that I'm not excited about, because I am a maniac about center, and no one seems to know this concept anymore. Luckily, I have got a chessable course on this. I haven't said it more than 5 million times. Center, guys, it's that simple. When your opponent does nothing but keeps on going back and back, if you don't conquer that center, you're not playing chess. It's that simple. This is actually a very sad move compared to d5. Again, f4 was desired to side punch the center. White is playing a terrible game, by the way. Bishop g5, knight in, take. And so here we arrive to this position. And for the first time in this game, we find our protagonist again out of his depth, because he doesn't quite know what to play for. g6 appears to be a very natural move to a higher rated player here, simply eliminating the squares of the knight and occasionally allowing black to play for f5. But our advantage is minimal. He goes d5, which is very, very iffy at best. I really didn't understand the concept behind this. Take would have been desired. Bishop takes, queen takes g3. But quite frankly, I prefer white here. I easily prefer white here, whether it be rook f3 or queen e4. White now has the f-file, the pawns are a little bit loose, and black has got nothing to target. This whole d5 idea here was just terrible, to be honest with you. It straightened the white's pawns, it traded the bishop up for the knight. All the good things disappeared from the board. Luckily, opponent plays rook e1, we take, knight takes, queen back. Now I'm accelerating this so that I'm getting to the point. Again, we fail to notice that our opponent is leaving the center. We go like, aha, so you left the center, I will conquer the center. It's that easy. And they are missing it every time, all the time. And also, white is basically sending a telegram, right? That, hello, I want to go knight f5. Can you please let me? Huh, please? Sure. In you come, mate, says black. Knight f5. That's a very, very appalling case, by the way, of anticipation. Like, this is another big mantra of mine, that every single time you play a game and you execute a move without not having your opponent's best move in your head, what you think is their best, then you're not playing chess. You're just playing a coin toss where you're just hoping for the best. Like, surely when they played, whoops, is my bad, knight g3, they must have had an idea. And we didn't even investigate that. We just went like, oh, yeah, whatever. And if I had asked black, what do you think white is going to play here? He would have gone like, huh? And that's really not okay. You cannot, at any given point in your game, be asked, not that you would, but imagine you could, hey, what do you think your opponent is planning to do? And you would be like, I don't know. That can't happen. That literally cannot happen. That means that you are playing a half a game. Like, you are not actually engaged in the battle. You're just engaged with your own pieces. So for all you know, your opponent's pieces could be anywhere because you don't know what they're doing. So that can't happen. So before you play a move, try to have a very good educated guess about what's coming at you already. Anyway, so here the opponent chucks away a piece, and the same situation arises, or a very similar one like before, where there is annoying pressure on us. It's nothing more than annoying pressure. We are clearly a piece up. We managed to fend off the attack. There is nothing white has here. And from here on, black loses his game in less than 3 moves. And this is the typical case of pressure. I did talk to you about that. And I also did tell you about the pre-1700 group, that they destroy and damage themselves more than they can be damaged. And here we are actually going to commit a mistake that is typical of that previous bunch, where we just self-destruct like so, and we get mated in 1 move. Now, how to avoid this? First and foremost, establish for yourself, what's my opponent's threat? Yeah, so the easiest way to investigate that is you go like, what would they do if it was their turn? Now, if you look at this position in about a 10-second inspection, you will find out that white has got zilch, nada, nothing, nichts, I don't know any other language, just nothing. There is no threat whatsoever. What that means is that we have got a fairly large liberty in terms of what we do. So obviously this rook can't go. This rook is quite handy to have as a backup. And the bishop needs to monitor the f7 pawn. So we are tied down a fair bit, but hello, I didn't seem to mention the queen, right? So the lady is actually good to go. And one of the best moves here, in my opinion, is to go for queen d5 and just come in via here, or alternatively play rook g7 first and then bring the lady in. Lots and lots and lots of goodies. The computer really likes c4, which is just totally ignoring everything that the white can do, and just let's carry on. Anyway, queen d8, king f1, and now again the right move would have been, funnily enough, this penetration via the queen side is best. But again, I would like to note that there is no threat whatsoever, but the panic is real, because he in this position he sees that rook takes rook here actually loses to this. And that really stinks, which actually makes me wonder if it would have been possible for black to play queen e7 here. No, we have got rook f7, so that's fair enough. Okay, so yeah, that was one of those tricky motifs where we couldn't have done that. What about if I take rook g6? Take rook g6 and then queen e7 next. How is that? Totally winning. Right, so caveman, trade them off. Trade, done. Like, there are so many easy ways to deal with this tension. Nah, we go back, followed by blundering a mate. So this is what tends to happen a lot when we are under pressure. That we tend to misevaluate, or rather panically respond to certain things and fall victim of easy tactics. Here the basic principle of fewer pieces, fewer problems would have done a very, very good job. Okay, next. Oh boy, This will be a juicy one. So again, our friend is doing a fabulous job in playing his opening. So I can very clearly pinpoint a forte, a strength here. His openings are in correct order. He plays good openings, both white and black, very sound repertoire, but seems to be stuck right after the opening. Castles, and you go like, okay, this is like common sense 101. I'm castled here, they are castled there. I should try to attack the guys here. Plays queen b3. I'm like, what? Like, even if I was white here, I would not take this, right? Even if it was my turn. And what are you doing on this side of the board anyway? Okay, moving on. b5, knight e5, that's fine. Take, knight d5, all g, pawn c4. Now, this is just like a total suicide. And again, we are now going back to pre-1700 self-destruction. Black has no threats. Black's objective in this position is to open up the king. It's really impossible to do so without playing another 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn moves in a row. White goes, no, let me do that for you. And that's it. Black's problem is solved. Now he has got a ginormous attack. Now the best would have been to take and then rook b8 and start piling up on the b file, but bishop g5 is okay too. Now again, take on c4 is best, very good, and here rook b8 is the best move. Queen e7, and again I will accelerate things a little bit because it's going to be quite telling. So queen c5 check, king here, rook b8. Now it's very clear to me, someone of my strength and even far below, if I ask them, look at this position, tell me what you think about the black attack on the queen side, they will say, what black attack? And here we are clearly overreacting and misreacting to this mate threat. He plays rook c1 and then he plays queen d4, which is a terrible move because it brings the queen onto the d file where it can be attacked by the rook, but also it's using the most powerful piece to defend the threat. Your priority is all the time to defend the threats that they are posing to you with the least valuable pieces. So for example, now the mate can be stopped by a rook move and a queen move. Instantly go for rook unless there is something wrong with it fundamentally. Because now they can't build on this attack anymore. It's gone. It's over. This attack is not going anywhere. Queen d4, rook d8. And now we are in trouble because after rook d3 we are losing at least a pawn here. No, we can't take the rook because of mate. This is why you need to use your less valuable pieces in the defense. Okay, so rook b6. Yeah, black doesn't really understand how to attack either. Trade. And things are coming off. And here we go. My favorite example of this whole batch. f6. Now, I am utterly shocked, and I will hide the lines here, about the valuation of this position. So I don't know how much endgame knowledge our friend has accumulated in his life, but when I see f6 as a player, and obviously I have seen my fair share of endgames. What have I just done? So I see f6 and I instantly go, right, I take, you take, check, and this king is sealed on the back rank for eternity. And I'm going for it. That's it. I'm done. I know already that there is no way on earth I can play a better move here for white than take, check, wife, Freudian slip there, and go back. It's impossible that you can get a better scenario in a rook ending than your opponent's king glued to the back rank for the rest of this game. And now you take the pawn, and this guy is running in. But we go, oh, but that's hanging. Who cares? Who cares? There are two things in rook endings that you really, really want to focus on. One, piece activity. We are killing black here in piece activity because our rook is way more active than theirs, and our king is incomparably more active than theirs. Secondly, you need activity, which very often relates to pass pawns. Guess who has got pass pawn on the board? Yep, that's me, thank you very much. Guess who does not have a pass pawn on the board? Oh yeah, that's them, a4. And in every facet of the game, they are dead lost here. Nah, Instead, after f6, we go rook d6. And instantly, we trade down into a worse rook ending like so, where our opponent's rook is at least as good as ours. We didn't manage to make their king very passive, and their pawns remained in unison too, and should we lose this, there will be 2 connected passes running down to touchdown. Contrary to the previous example, hands up if you don't have pass pawn, yep, that's us now. Oopsie daisy. And needless to say that we actually end up playing a losing endgame here very, very soon. Now, this is dead draw, right? In fact, now we lost it. Oopsie daisy. So here we needed to practice a little bit of caution, but nay, we run back. And here we take on h2, which was not only fully unnecessary, but very foolish too, because this pawn is sentenced to death. I can take it any time I want. It's super important to run up these pawns to go as far up as possible, so that when this trade takes place and the king takes here, it will be too far to run back. Nah, we jump into take, and now we are actually dead. And this is a classic case of outside pass pawn, which means that white is going to be busy taking this. In the interim, black comes over here and eats these pawns. And unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, we just don't have enough time to save the day. I didn't look into b4, a4 stuff, but let's have a look. b4, king here, a4 here, b5. Yeah, it's too slow. And black eats all the pawns. Thank you very much. Game over. Now, instead, here, black also demonstrates total lack of understanding who's going which way and pushes the g pawn, thus allowing white to hunt it down in far fewer moves than it would have taken white if the pawn remained on g7. So total shocker. King there. Now the game is draw, because we hand down the pawn, and at the same time now we managed to trade this guy off. And then black pulls off the amazing king c5, and now white is even winning soon. Wait for it. Now black still had the chance to come around here, and super easy draw, right? So b4, take, king here and e10, it's a draw. Nay, we go a4, and now after b4, white even won this ending. It was an absolute crazy roller coaster, but this endgame actually featured some so basic concepts that it required no endgame knowledge at all, by the way. Like, that is not an endgame style, the endgame theory that you need to know that your opponent's king on the back rank is utter garbage. It also, you don't need to have an amazing endgame technique like Smyslov's to know that a pass pawn is pretty handy in an endgame versus no pass pawns. So it's interesting, but this player definitely does need to have a look at some basic endgames and how advantageous endgames are converted, because what went down here was the most insane comedy of errors. Like, white went from winning to draw to losing to back to draw to back to winning. Like, that is just absolutely mind-blowing. And last but not least, I have got to show you this, which was also an interesting game. This is the one that he played the worst in some respect, because what are you after?
Charger, please. Sorry.
Because bishop g4 here is already betraying an opening principle, which is that knights before bishops. Knight c6 is the correct move, and here it can already be punished, by the way. So this is a typical case of when you are out of book, fall back on your principles. Knights before bishops, center, king safety, do those things. Bishop g4, h3. What do? You go back g4. See you. And we did. And that's all because we are not following the basic chess principles, which once again carry us all the way to IMGM, which is why my chess courses are called Chess Principles Reloaded, because some people never loaded them up, but most people need to reload them. So knight c6 here is the correct move. He plays castles, pretty poor. We play c6. What? how is this even a candidate move? My only thing that I can think of here is that it was a mouse slip and he wanted to play knight c6. Right, this is neither center nor developing, so no idea what's going on there. Okay, rook e1, queen f6. We are solidly dead here to a lot of moves. Most dominantly knight d2 followed by h3 again would make this very hurtful. Actually, maybe d4 is good too. Bishop g5, bishop takes f3. Bishop takes, ooh, no. Okie dokie. So he white opts to lose the game like this. Okay, but more on that in a second. So obviously bishop takes, and then perhaps bishop e5 would have been fine when this is hanging and this is hanging with check. Yeah, computer approves. Good. Now, watch this. Queen g5, bishop takes, queen takes. And again, what's the story? Story is simple. Black is totally winning. We are a piece up. We are a little bit behind in development. So as soon as we catch up, game is in the pocket. Knight goes to d7. For the life of me, I will never be able to understand why you wouldn't put the knight on c6. Where you would naturally put it. Like, this is your instinct. How do you override that and persuade yourself to, no, we should put it on d7 because A, it's a lot more passive, 2, it hangs b7, 3, it doesn't allow us to play rook d8 with a tempo after. These are the moves that just really get to me. Like, how did you actually decide that this was a better move than that? When every single gut instinct tells you knight c6, develop center. Okay, so we go knight d7. Typical case, by the way, that for some reason when people are way ahead in material and position, they somehow, the first thing they want to do is to drop their principles, forget them because we have to be busy with winning the game. Guess what? That's what chess principles are there for you. Okay, knight c3, bishop e7, knight e4, queen g6, all good. Rook e3. Now at this stage, again, just super basic chess concepts. We are piece up. Let's trade queens and see you. We win. We can't castle here, which is what we would like to do because the knight is hanging. So queen c6 offers a queen trade, defends the knight. If the queen refutes the queen, rejects the queen trade, thank you very much. Done, dusted, piece up on your bike. Nah, we don't do that. Or do we? Oh, we did do that. Wait a second. Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. Our protagonist here is doing what he needs to do. Castles, excellent. Rook f1. Now, I wouldn't mind here. There are a number of ways to do this. King away f6 is something that appeals to me a fair bit. Queen e6 back is something, again, forcing the queens off, or f5. There are lots of ways to do this. Queen b6, fine. Fine. Again, I would have played here queen c6, and now the queen trade is essentially unavoidable, because if the queen goes this way, now we have got f5. Nah. We go knight f6, first blunder. Pawn drops. That's fine. We can totally easily fix it. We play something like knight d5, funnily enough, center. And after rook g3, we have got multiple ways to deal with the mate threat, f6, g6, you name it, we win. No worries. No, we go bishop d6. Note the pattern here, that we had 3 games out of 4 where our guy was totally winning, material up, against slight pressure. Every single time we threw it away. I don't know what his story was here. Perhaps he thought that take, queen takes, and bishop check was gonna win the queen, but that is so naive and totally overlooking a mate in 2, which is how the game ended, by the way, just for the record. Like, why would you even risk a variation where our king gets opened up like this to multiple checks, where in fact you had knight e4, trade, and then put the bishop on f6, whatever takes back, I don't care, queen takes, put the bishop here or here, and again, easy win. So if I was the coach of this guy, quite funnily, there would be a lot of things that I would be working on with him or her. Openings would definitely not be one of them. His opening seems to be totally fine. In the vast majority of cases we saw, he actually outplayed the opponent in the opening and came out on top, except for this one here. On the other hand, tactical vision is really lacking. Totally misplaying positions under pressure. Endgame technique really poor. So we would be looking at these things for the next X amount of sessions. And on that note, folks, I need to go now. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back with more soon. Thank you. Bye.